Hello, and welcome to another episode of Solipsist Watched. I'm your host, the Social Solipsist, and this week I watched American Animals from 2018. Now, I don't know that this film got a very wide release. I don't actually remember the first time I heard about this film, but it's a fairly small film, and I think relatively underrated, or at least underknown. It is. I vaguely remember seeing some advertising for it. And as usual, I tend to think the advertising doesn't do the actual product justice. The product is better than the advertising gives it credit for. But such is the nature of advertising. You gotta sell people who don't want the thing on the thing you're selling. Well, anyway, I digress. American Animals is framed as or referred to as a docudrama. I think there's quite a lot of those going around, especially in the last few years. They've become more popular. This is different. And it's unique in a way I really appreciate with regards to its structure. So I guess I want to talk about the framing of the story first, which is just that it's a little hokey. Right at the beginning, the first thing that the film opens with, before it even gets its first shot in, is it opens with text and it says, "This is not based on a true story." And then it erases the words so that it says, "This is a true story." It's cheesy and whatever, but it's true, with an asterisk. We'll get into that. This is a story about a couple of students in Kentucky who decided to steal some rare books. And that's sort of the whole thing. And what's fascinating about it is right from the very beginning, they include documentary aspects in this. And I mean this very literally. They include the actual guys who are being portrayed by actors in the film. They talk to the actual people involved. They interview them documentary style. But comparatively speaking, what makes this so different, and it's a small change, it seems like a small change, but it actually makes a drastic difference in the feeling of the overall film, is compared to a docudrama or something like that, something that might be like mostly documentary, but then it gets into like reenactment stuff, like actor reenactments and those sorts of things. This is very much on the side. Well, I don't even want to say that. It is mostly on the side of the sort of the fictional portrayal, the recreation of the events. But it pretty carefully weaves in these documentary aspects, the interviews with the involved people now years after the fact. And it's not something that I can think of having seen anyone else try before. It's really unique, and it's done shockingly well. Frankly, that was one of the things I was most concerned about going into this, is that they were getting too big for their britches right off the bat. But no, it actually works super, super well. The overall plot is the plot is fairly simple. Obviously this is the story is not that complex. It's about the characters, and given that they're also interviewing the actual people directly, it's sort of a foregone conclusion where certain things will land, but also that the film overall is very focused on the characters, both the individuals and as a group, and trying to portray them in a way that is meaningful in exploring their sort of the psyche of the individuals. it's pretty carefully done too. It doesn't get too preachy, or nor does it like sort of wallow in the false glory of what they were trying to do or anything like that. It strikes a not exactly subtle, but a careful balance between portraying them both as, well, in all cases, as real people and nuanced people, but also portraying them both not as heroes and not as villains, that they have nuanced characterization. The aspects that are documentary style are actually used relatively sparingly, and that's probably part of what makes it so effective when they do use it, is they know right when to insert those sections in order to sort of either break up or continue their pacing. So it's a really interesting way of sort of keeping the flow or the rhythm of the film going, and sort of letting, in some sense, letting the interviewees draw you through the story that they're essentially telling. There's also some, I wish they had, well, we'll get to that. They do use some, it's not just that they're, in these broken up interview sections either. The characters also, the actors portraying these people also have scenes with the people. So there's some very interesting work done with sort of knitting in reality to the fictional portrayal. And the most disappointing part is that they didn't do it more. Because when they do it, it's excellent. It gives another layer to showing the sort of the looking backward and looking forward that the characters are doing. So, if they're engaged in, if their younger version is engaged in something and the older version is remembering it, then there's this fascinating sort of crossing over where, even many times without saying anything, without there being any dialogue, you very clearly get the sense of like the modern person looking back, thinking over what happened, what they were feeling, what they thought of themselves at the time, and what they think of themselves at that time now. And also the characters themselves in this younger state, looking forward, thinking what are the ramifications of their actions, trying to like sort their way through life in general, because the characters are all college age, and that's a troubling and confusing time for anyone to sort of find themselves. So there's so much done with care there to give a really clear character portrayal, but also I don't know how to explain it better than it just sort of builds on itself, and gets a lot of depth out of, without over explaining what it's trying to show you. I really, really appreciated that. But again, I wish it had gone a little farther. The script itself is really well done. Again, it's sort of this structural upheaval, so it's not so much, there are sections of it that are much more uninterrupted actor narrative. I wish I had better terminology for this. And the actors all do a great job. I think all of the actors portray their characters totally fine to extremely well. You definitely get the sense of that, even though at least a few of the actors are quite a bit older than college age. Like you absolutely get that sense of that college curiosity, that like that age, that late teens, early 20s, curiosity and frustration and feelings of aimlessness and placelessness, and all these other things that are portrayed really well, not only in their performances but also in like their acting performances, but also in the dialogue that they deliver. And overall, the tone is really synthesizes in a way I didn't expect, where the advertising I vaguely recall being much more like lighthearted in terms of like wanting to be like, hey, watch these dumb kids do this dumb thing or something like that. But really, this film goes up and down all the time on like, hold on, are we rooting for them? Are we not rooting for them? Are we hoping this doesn't go right? Are we hoping it goes well? Are we concerned that are we concerned for the ramifications? What do we think is going to be the long-term outcome for these characters? And it's very careful not to break that balance, and not go too comedic or too dramatic or ham it up too much, which I think could very easily be the tendency with a story like this. This easily could have strayed into like the really over amped like mid 2000s, oh, I'm a college kid character shit. I mean, it sounds a little silly, but like I think it easily could have gone that way or gone in that direction, and it's very careful not to. And the tone, while not consistent throughout, is deliberately inconsistent in a way I think works really well and keeps you drawn in, and gives you a variety of experiences over the course of the film. So it keeps you very engaged, more than I really expected. What's interesting, this is written and directed by Bart Layton, who only has one other credit. Hold on. Who was the director of The Imposter from 2012, which I haven't seen, but that's his only other credit. But he wrote and directed this, and it's really well done. Cinematography as well is, there's some points where it's, not perfect, but there's some really nice shots in here. Again, I'm always complimentary of people who take artistic risk, even if it doesn't necessarily pan out. In this case, I'm going to say again that I wish they had gone a little bit more with it, and sort of leaned into that more cinematically experimental artistic side. There are some negative sides of this, a little too much use of, it's very typical in Hollywood, but use of aggressive color grading to tell you how to feel about a scene. But it's not so aggressive as to be like annoying or disruptive in a serious way. It's just not as pretty as it could be as an artistic experience. But overall, really nice work, and especially for a writer and director. I mean, you've heard me talk about that before. Writing and directing something together means you get to realize your vision in full in a way that I think is underrated, and it clearly works really well here. What else is? There's some odd side notes on this. Like, this movie was attached to the now defunct MoviePass Inc. I don't know if anybody will remember MoviePass, or anybody watching subscribe to it. MoviePass was a subscription service where you buy a subscription to go to the movies, like go to movie theaters. And it was a steal, and they went bankrupt, because no shit, they went bankrupt. Because I think I was not a subscriber, but I think it was like you basically go to the movies once a month, and it covers that's the cost of the subscription, and you can go as many times as you want. So shit's wild. Anyway, I had no idea that they were also involved in production and distribution. Apparently they were. I don't know if they had any other credits. They didn't exist for that long. Hold on. How long did... oh, they're actually older than I thought. I didn't realize MoviePass was founded in 2011. Anyway, I'm not going to read the Wikipedia article right now, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't know they did production on this, but it's kind of weird for this now defunct but well-meaning company to be attached to this. I didn't expect that at all. I found that out long after the fact. Yeah, I mean, so I was pretty impressed with this film. It's not perfect. It's got some things I think could be improved on, but especially for a relatively new director, relatively new writer, some fairly minor actors. Evan Peters is one of the main stars. So he's probably the biggest name on the film, but like even he doesn't have a huge number of credits. In fact, I feel like 90% of his credits are probably the X-Men movies. Anyway, I digress. Really interesting film. If you've got 2 hours to watch a sort of interesting comedy drama heist thing that's a little bit more real and gets into the emotional side and the gray areas of heist films, rather than being some sort of, most heist films are kind of a romp, so this is like a little bit different. If that appeals to you at all, I highly recommend it. I thought it was a cool film, and I'd be interested to see other things in this sort of vein of retelling real stories in a real way, but also seeing what else this director writes and directs. Interesting stuff. Anyway, thank you guys for watching another episode of Solipsist Watched. I've been the Social Solipsist, and I will see you guys next time.